Hey all, welcome back to Why Math Why. We're going to talk about the addition and subtraction of integers. Very simple things that maybe some of the students in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, even I have some students that have trouble with that who are taking later courses that still are not great with their integers and have to go to the calculator. So I'm going to hopefully help kids to remember why integers work the way they do with basic operations of addition and subtraction. Let's start with this, -2 plus 5. Now, the way that I like to think about it when teaching it is, I think of it like on a number line. So you've got this number line, and we start out at -2. So that's here. I think of a negative number essentially as a direction. That is all that a negative number is. So we've gone to the left 2. If I add 5 to that, that means I'm going to go 5 more to the right from -2. So that would be over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which ends us up at 3. Now the other way I think of it is if I'm going to be going 2 in the left direction and then I go 5 in the right direction, then I've got a space between these two numbers of 3. So overall, the difference in these two numbers is 3. So I'm essentially doing 5 minus 2. But the reason why I end up at 3 and not say -3 and mess up with our signs is 5 is more positive then 2 is negative. And so we should end up on the positive side of 0. And why at 3? Because the space between these two magnitudes is 3. So it's a different way of thinking about it. Here's another example. You have -3 minus a -5. Well, this is not so bad. And this I like to think of, you can think of it graphically, or you can just say, well, if I have -3 and I subtract from that a -5, that is the same as taking away $5 of debt or adding $5 on to what used to be a debt of, let's say, 3. So now we would be in a surplus, or you'd be adding $5 and so too. So for instance, if I was down $3 and I paid back $5 in debt, then I would have, or subtracted $5 of the debt, then I would have $2 surplus actually. Banks would love you then, let me tell you. Okay, so on to one other example that often hurts people. Something like this. -3. Let's do -10. Minus 4. Something where you have an integer minus another integer. Now, a lot of people will memorize this and they'll say, oh, well, I've got two of the same sign, so I add the two numbers and I keep the sign. Yeah, but why is that? Think direction again. Let's say that -10 is right here. -4 means that you're going another 4 in the negative direction. So that is why we add, because the directions agree with each other in terms of our number line. There's -11, -12, -13, -14, which is where we're going to end up because we just traveled another 4 to the left. I find that putting directions to adding and subtracting integers really helps people to get a visual of what they're doing and not just to memorize rules. And we can do one other type of problem too, which is where you have the positive number minus a number that's bigger than that positive number. Let's do -12. So 5 minus 12 works just as well with this directional idea. So if you take a look at this, 5 minus 12, these numbers are 7 apart. Why is that important? Well, if we look at a number line and we start at the number, let's say 5 is over here. We start at the number 5, you're now going to travel to the left 12. Well, how far apart are these two magnitudes? How much are they worth? Well, 12 minus 5 is 7, but 12 is more negative than 5 is positive. So we're not going to end up at +7, but rather at -7. And so your answer is -7. And using the number line, we can see that we would have 5. And if we go to the left 5, now we still have, well, how much more to go to the left? Another 7. Right, so that'd be -7 minus 5. So 5 minus 12, that 5 cancels out with 5 going to the left within the 12, and 7 more left. So we end up at -7. So guys, there's a whole bunch of ways you can look at this, and maybe you've watched this whole video and thought, man, I already knew this stuff. Maybe not. Maybe now you can really look at a visual and see that you start at -2. That's a direction, -2. And then add 5 to that, and when you do that, you end up in the surplus of 3. So you can see the motion there. So let's not just memorize these techniques or just say, well, it makes sense that when you have two signs that are the same, you add, and when you have different signs, you subtract and take the sign of the bigger number. Why? It's direction. Everything in this world with numbers can be described with direction. All right, y'all. That was a longer video, but I'm pretty passionate about integers and not memorizing them and understanding what they're about. I hope that's been helpful to you or maybe to someone else that's going through the ails of integers, but they should become automatic after a little while. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video. Keep math not hard. Peace.